Hi, this is Steve from LZ23 Strength, where we exert ourselves, we elevate our health, and we evolve in mind and body. And today we're going to be talking about something you may or may have not heard of before, but we're going to be discussing nitric oxide. And this is something critical for us as we age because we start to not be able to produce it the way we used to. In fact, by the time you get into your 40s, probably producing 50% less of the amount than when we were in our 20s. But as we're going to talk about, we'll see how it's important for our health span and longevity and for good health. And so let's talk about what it is. Now, nitric oxide is a gas that acts as a signaling molecule in the body. And you'll see as I'm talking about this that I'm not a scientist nor a doctor, so everything that you hear is for educational and entertainment purposes. And I'll direct you to some folks who are actually more, I guess you call them experts in this field, but we can still learn a lot and get the basics and see what we can do to improve upon that in our bodies. But what does nitric oxide do for the body? Well, one of the things that improves blood flow. It causes the blood vessels to relax and increases the blood flow and delivers more oxygen, nutrients to cells throughout the body. And you know, one thing, a lot of folks as they get older, the blood flow actually starts to slow down and you don't have it as much and causes all sorts of different health related issues for individuals as we age. So we definitely want to improve blood flow. So nitric oxide is vital in that area. It regulates blood pressure, helps to actually lower blood pressure by making the blood vessels relax. So that helps to keep it in a healthy range. So it's a significant area that nitric oxide can help. It also enhances brain function. And it's interesting, and when we talk about different areas of health, how they all are intertwined and interconnected when it comes to our physical health, our cognitive health. And that's why we want to educate ourselves and learn about these things so that if there's something simple that we can do or change in our diets, our exercise, our routines on a daily basis, that we'll do it. We'll try to incorporate these things to achieve a better quality of life and a better health span. Another area it helps in is sexual function. It's essential for sexual arousal, and particularly in males, by facilitating blood flow to the sex organs. But as you dig deeper into it, you find that in this area of sexual function, it's vital for both men and women, and just in general health. Nitric oxide is vital for both men and women. Also fights cell damage, and our cells get attacked by free radicals, and nitric oxide can really come to the aid in that area as well. So nitric oxide is it's vital. So we try to learn about it as much as we can. Why are the reasons that it declines? Well, we're going to get into a little even more scientific and biological. It causes the inner lining of the blood vessels to become less efficient in the endothelium. It's called endothelium dysfunction. And so it's less efficient in producing nitric oxide. It also comes from reduced enzyme activity. Enzyme responsible for producing nitric oxide is called nitric oxide synthase, and that becomes less active. Also, we struggle and suffer from oxidative stress, which is the buildup of damaging molecules. And then, as I mentioned, even for men and women, our hormones as we age can affect it too, where decreasing hormones such as estrogen in women can also affect the less production of nitric oxide. And as I mentioned before, it can have an impact on sexual function and even bone strength. So it's something that we do well to give attention to. Some of the things that we're going to talk about, they're not real complicated. It's not something beyond our reach, but it's something that we all can probably give some attention to. There's three categories, particularly in our diet, that we can try to help and elevate our nitric oxide levels. First area deals with nitrates. The second one's foods containing the amino acids L-arginine and L-citrulline. And then also the third area dealing with antioxidants. And so first of all, let's talk about the nitrate-rich vegetables. That's really where we can get a lot of help in boosting our nitric oxide, which, by the way, to my understanding, as we produce it, it's very fleeting. I guess that's the best word I can come up with. It's not something that lasts long. We produce it and we use it, and it rifles through our system wherever it's being used very quickly. So it's something that we have to kind of be consistent on a daily basis and do these different things to try to fight back best we can. And one of those is nitrate-rich vegetables, which the king in this area probably would be arugula. There's other leafy greens such as spinach, kale, Swiss chard, lettuce, and other vegetables like radishes, Chinese cabbage, bok choy. All these things can help, even celery. But arugula is noted for the biggest impact. I guess another area, the second closely linked, would be beets and beetroot juice. So trying to get these, incorporating these into our diet to kind of make them a staple will definitely help us in this area of nitric oxide, which we should notice a difference when it comes to exercise performance, when it comes to blood pressure regulation, should definitely come into play. Now, when it comes to the amino acids, watermelon is an excellent source of L-citrulline, and that helps convert, which the body converts to L-arginine, which is vital for nitric oxide production. Nuts and seeds like almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, they provide L-arginine, as well as different meat and poultry and seafood. They're all good sources of L-arginine as well. And then things like legumes, chickpeas, lentils, they're also aid in these areas. Now, some folks will tell you that L-citrulline, supplementing that would be a good thing. L-arginine, on the other hand, different things that I've seen, that I guess the way the body uses these amino acids and how it links in with nitric oxide, L-arginine supplements aren't encouraged or promoted as much. So you definitely want to do some research in that and talk to your doctor in that area if it's something that you wanted to supplement with. Now, the antioxidant-rich foods, pardon me, these going to talk about several of these that, in general, just having them in our diet on a regular basis, not only great for nitric oxide, but actually all areas of health. You'll hear about them over and over again for all sorts of things regarding our health. Pomegranates and berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, but pomegranates and berries are great antioxidants, or have antioxidants. Dark chocolate you'll hear about frequently, but it needs to be at least 70% containing cacao, which contains flavonoids that support nitric oxide production. Also garlic. It works to activate the nitric oxide synthase, which is the enzyme responsible for production of nitric oxide. And then finally, green tea. But then there's other fruits too, like oranges, lemons, limes, grapefruits. They're rich in antioxidants as well. But you'll hear about pomegranates and berries. You'll hear about dark chocolate, garlic, green tea. Just awesome to have in our diet for a whole slew of health reasons and benefits. So if we incorporate these into our daily diets, along with good exercise, adequate sleep, it's going to do a lot to support nitric oxide production. So those are basically covering 3 of our 4 pillars. Remember, we talked about our 4 pillars of Healthspan, and exercise, nutrition, and sleep are the three key big ones in that of those 4. The next area I want to talk about is some things that we want to avoid, a couple things anyways, and it might sound odd, but you might want to limit mouthwash use because it kills the oral bacteria that helps produce nitric oxide. So mouthwashes and even fluoride to an extent. There's a 2022 study noted that fluoride toothpaste altered the oral microbiome, leading to reduced function of nitrate-reducing bacteria, which are essential for converting nitrates into nitric oxide. So if you want to do a deep dive into these things, Dr. Nathan Bryan is who I would recommend to watch his videos. He is a doctor and an expert in this area that can really give you a deeper dive into why those things are bad. And just the idea of mouthwash, it'll even say on the bottles how much bacteria it kills. Well, not all bacteria in our mouth is bad. So that's where the conflict comes in. Some of the bacteria we need, and these are kind of somewhat newer, not really new ideas, but newer ideas that how everything's interlinked, from our gut biome to the microbiome and our oral hygiene that we have, and how they all kind of interplay together. So I encourage you to listen to Dr. Nathan Bryan to get some deeper dive on that, but I want to give that some consideration. Remember, I'm not a doctor, not a scientist. I'm just passing along what I hear and for informational purposes, and you might find it interesting to do some research in that for yourself. Now, you might think of when you hear nitrates that that isn't that in like hot dogs and other processed meats. It is to an extent, and we wouldn't want to look to those sources to try to boost our nitric oxide, because they have other health concerns and issues with any processed meats like hot dogs and others. So I that wouldn't be a place we recommend to go looking to help boost nitric oxide production. Another area that's fascinating that you may never heard of or thought of, but humming. Humming can significantly increase nasal nitric oxide because it enhances gas exchange between the paranasal sinuses and the nasal cavity. So humming, actually studies show that humming can increase nasal nitric oxide levels by as much as 15-fold compared to quiet breathing. So something like sounds corny and silly, but it's a mechanism that can actually have a great effect. And one of the suggestions on how to do it, which I'm hoping I'm doing it correctly, but we want to breathe in through our nose, and as we exhale through our nose, then you make a sustained hum sound, and you want to repeat that for a few minutes. And it's not something that you're going to do all day long, because they'll probably come and lock you up. Somebody will come and take you away. Your family will get tired of you. But probably a couple times a day, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do several rounds of humming along with the other things that we suggested. And then finally, also natural sunlight. Getting natural sunlight exposure, it releases nitric oxide in the skin. So these are all basically simple things that we can do. We talked just briefly about exercising, and actually all types are good, whether it's cardio and aerobic related, HIIT, high intensity interval training, to other cardio training, to weightlifting. All sorts of exercising is going to be good for it. Sunlight, getting exposure to the skin, is going to help get nitric oxide in the skin. As I mentioned, nasal breathing. Actually just had a video about breathing, and I'm still learning how to breathe, so maybe I need to learn how to hum a little better too. But just throwing these things out there, and that's what we're going to give you the top takeaways today with nitric oxide. It might be totally new to you, but I encourage you to dive deep into it, because it's many of the things are just simple things that we can do on a daily basis to hopefully help our health, help our nitric oxide production, and help our health span. So the top takeaways: deep nasal breathing, and with humming, all kinds of exercise, as we mentioned, cardio and strength training, trying to eat nitrate-rich vegetables like arugula, beets, beetroot juice, celery, spinach, kale, things like that. Antioxidants you can get from things like dark chocolate with at least 70% cacao, We have nuts and seeds and all sorts of things, green tea. All of these things can help to boost the nitric oxide, getting natural sunlight, as we mentioned, and then avoiding and limiting mouthwash and fluoride. And again, Dr. Nathan Bryan is an expert in this area, and he also actually has supplements that we might want to consider when it comes to nitric oxide as well. Another doctor that I listen to occasionally, Dr. Rachel Ross, she also has some ideas and regarding a lot of it dealing with nutrition, but some of these other biohacks, so to speak, that can help with nitric oxide production as well. So I appreciate you listening and help listening to me struggle through this scientific stuff, but the actual application of it is pretty simple. That even I understand it, and hopefully you understood the way I put it across, and you'll try to implement it in your own life. So I appreciate you watching, and ask that you smash the like button and subscribe. Remember to exert yourself, elevate your health, and evolve in mind and body. And one way is by taking in this kind of knowledge and trying to implement it. And as you do, hopefully it will increase our health span and longevity and quality of life and reduce a lot of the health issues that so many are plagued with today. But again, I thank you for watching. Again, please subscribe, and we'll be talking to you soon.